News at 5 o'clock.
It was a haunting murder mystery. A 21-year-old black woman was brutally killed on the streets of an Indiana town with a reputation for intolerance back in the late 60s. Now, no one knew what happened to her until our own Sandra Chapman reported on the case, prompting a very unlikely witness to come forward and then speak up. Well, now, for the very first time, Sandra takes us inside of that devastating secret and the path to the accused killer in a brand new book coming out tomorrow. The book includes interviews in the daughter's own words about turning in her own father.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I remember you hurting that lady. I remember being there and seeing you do that. And I go, why'd you have me with you?
For the first time, you are hearing the voice of Shirley McQueen, the woman who helped solve one of Indiana's most notorious murder mysteries.
I remember watching her fall. And I talked about him giving me that $7 and telling me to keep a secret.
These are excerpts of a taped interview McQueen did for a new book coming out on Friday. 10 years ago this month, McQueen and her $7 secret led to the arrest of her own father, Kenneth Richmond, for the 1968 racial killing of Carol Jenkins in Martinsville, Indiana. McQueen was just 7 years old when she witnessed the attack from the backseat of her father's car as he passed through town. For more than 3 decades, she lived with the nightmare before telling investigators what she knew and revealing to Carol's family those final hate-filled moments.
And I told her, I said, you were 7 years old. You were not only terrified to see the girl falling, but you traumatized.
Now the story behind the state and national headlines comes to light in the new book written by the reporter McQueen called with a chilling message. If the girl was wearing a yellow scarf and was killed with a screwdriver, my father could be the killer. Up until that moment, no one ever knew Carol Jenkins was wearing a yellow scarf.
I didn't know she had one, and Shirley's the only one that ever knew it, because it was never in the papers or anything about her having a yellow scarf.
That detail, along with an anonymous letter written by Shirley's sister-in-law following my investigative reports into police missteps in the case, led cold case investigators to McQueen.
I just told him everything I remembered about her scarf, her yellow scarf and everything.
We are not showing Shirley McQueen's face because she wants to retain some privacy in wake of the turmoil she still lives with 10 years after turning her father in. Kenneth Richmond died in custody before he went to trial and without naming his accomplice. But state police say he admitted to the crime. Richmond's attorney, Steve Litz, denies that claim, and police don't have his confession on tape.
Shortly before Mr. Richmond's death, he acknowledged his involvement in the death of Carol Jenkins.
The detectives told us that he confessed. He didn't speak, but he shook his head yes. Said this guard asked him, did he do it? And he shook his head yes. Yeah, I believe it. I believe he.
Paul Davis spent 30 years of his life trying to track down his daughter's killer. He finds it ironic that the answer to the murder mystery was locked away in the memory of someone else's young daughter.
And for you to get in there and dig like you done, and you developed some kind of bond with Shirley for her to even want to talk to you the way she did about it. And that made me feel good.
Like Shirley, Carol's family is still healing.
God worked with me for all those years because I was a pretty angry man at first.
Forgiving, but never able to forget the cost of intolerance or the town trying to move beyond its past.
I feel like she's part of the civil rights movement, and she had to give her life to make some people realize that it's not about color. It's about what a person has in their heart.
Now, the girl in the yellow scarf has been an emotional and historic journey for everyone involved. It began when Shirley McQueen asked me to write her story back in 2003. It's not an easy subject for her to speak about, not even now, but she shares her thoughts and writings about that night in Martinsville and her lifetime connection to Carol Jenkins, the journey to reveal the truth and life with an abusive father.
And I know there are people asking, well, what about Carol? What about the town of Martinsville, which was so heavily in the news back in this day when this all happened?
Well, Andrea, Carol's parents are extremely supportive of this work and hope Indiana will become a better place because of their daughter's legacy. That hope is also shared by a group of leading citizens from Martinsville now working overtime to try to change the image of their town.
And we know that there's a book signing tomorrow, right?
There is,
And I know
yes.
you've been working on this for a long time, and we're
Absolutely.
very, very pleased and happy for you, Sandra.
Thank you.
And The Girl in the Yellow Scarf will be available tomorrow from 6 to 9 p.m. at Barnes & Noble. That is up north at Clearwater Crossing. Again, Sandra will have a book signing there. We'll also have links to order. Just go to our website at WTHR.com. Sandra, thank you. John?